So, you spent a lot of time working on your podcast audio, but have you been thinking about your artwork? Great content deserves a great first impression, and it all starts with your podcast art. Today we're going to discuss some of the fundamental design principles that will not only help you enhance your brand, but also build art in a way that attracts listeners. Hey everyone, welcome to Podcast Pro Tips. I'm Quinn from The Podcast Consultant, and today we're going to be discussing podcast artwork. If someone's looking for a new show, they may very well judge the book by its cover, especially when there's a bunch of other thumbnails on their screen. So whether you're launching a new show or looking to refresh your existing artwork, we're going to be diving into some design principles that will help you make the right moves when it comes to your art.
What is that?
It's art.
Be sure to stick around until the end of this episode, where we'll be giving you some additional context on how to make the most of your podcast art. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more Podcast Pro tips. And without further delay, let's dive in. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about, visual hierarchy. This is a term used in design to discuss the different places your eye will land, first, second, and third, and the natural flow of the piece as you're looking at it. Typically, your podcast title would be the focal point, but depending on your design, a headshot or even the imagery could take center stage. You want to use size, contrast, and even negative space to set the flow for how the eye is going to move through the piece. For example, if the title is going to be the main piece, you might want to move the other elements away or make them smaller so it's clear where the eye should be looking first. Next up, color schemes. Color plays a massive role in the tone you are setting with your artwork. Bold, contrasting colors are loud and they grab attention, whereas more subdued palettes may convey professionalism and a sleekness. But remember, less is always more. Similar to visual hierarchy, if there's too many colors, it's going to be hard to know where to look and what message is even being said.
Okay, Kylie! Huh?
A simple, clean color scheme will be far more effective than a busy one. An easy way to figure out what color schemes might work and what colors could be considered complementary with other colors, just head over to Google and type in color schemes, color theory, and things like this. There'll be a lot of examples and color wheels that will show you how to easily and safely pick colors that work well together and how to arrange them in your piece. The third thing I want to talk about is typography. It's just a fancy word for text. But it's not just about picking a cool font, it's about legibility and brand consistency. Think about some of the world's most iconic logos. The typography is done in a way that is so catching that you remember it, like a hook from a good song. Think of Adidas or Nike. Those fonts alone are iconic. Your font should reflect your podcast's tone. For example, a sleek modern font probably lends itself well to a finance podcast, whereas something more playful and handwritten could work well for a comedy show. Try to avoid overly decorative fonts. If it's too busy, I may struggle to read it, especially when it's scaled down. The next thing, and hard to talk about design without touching this topic, is imagery. The imagery you choose should also complement your podcast's theme and message. You wouldn't use imagery with a bunch of stock charts if your show had nothing to do with that topic. It sounds like a no-brainer, but you'd be surprised how many people get this wrong. Whether you opt for photos, illustrations, or even stock images, you want to make sure that they're crisp, clear, high resolution, and unpixelated. For the most part, you probably don't want imagery that is going to overpower the text logo, if that's the focal point of your piece. Keep it balanced. As we said, visual hierarchy is key. Plus, you want to keep your imagery consistent across all platforms. That not only helps people recognize your brand, but it also gives your brand a consistent identity, which fosters trust. And we love trust.
Do you trust me?
What?
Do you trust me?
The last thing we'll touch on is simplicity. A cluttered design can confuse, overwhelm, and even turn a potential listener away. No one wants that. Aim for a clean, concise design that clearly communicates your podcast's tone, message, and title. Simple designs are often the most effective. Look at the Nike checkmark. So, with all that being said, here's a little recap, and then I have a couple pro tips to send your way. Here are the things you want to be keeping in mind when it comes to designing your podcast artwork. Number 1, visual hierarchy. Make sure that the key elements are the ones that stand out and where my eye wants to land first. 2, color scheme. Choose colors that reflect your brand and keep it simple. 3, typography. Pick a font that's legible and that fits the tone of your podcast. 4, imagery. Be sure to use high-quality images that reflect your brand and that also don't overpower the rest of your design. 5, brand consistency. Ensure that your cover art aligns with your overall brand. That fosters trust and creates a sense of brand identity. 6, keep it simple. avoid clutter, and less is always more. Pro tip here, get feedback. Remember, it's not about whether or not you like your podcast artwork. It's about whether or not the person reading it can understand what they're looking at. Some feedback like, hey, I don't like this design as a whole, you might want to take that with a grain of salt. But if someone says, I'm not really sure what I want to give you for feedback, I just don't really know where I'm looking, that's a clear indication that you may want to workshop your art some more. And always remember, you want to prioritize clarity over complexity. Your podcast artwork should be designed well enough that with a simple glance, I can understand the tone of your show, what it's going to talk about, and what it's called. Pro tip here is making sure that regardless of what you've designed, test it across multiple devices. Look at it big on a TV and small on your phone. Remember, effective artwork doesn't just look good, it works hard for your brand and is the front line for your first impression. If you're looking for help with your design, social assets, and anything else as far as the design front is concerned, you can book a free discovery call with us at the podcast consultant in the link below. We'd love to help you create your artwork or refresh your existing brand so that way it pops no matter where it shows up online. As always, thanks for watching. What are a few design principles that you like to use when you're designing your artwork? Let us know in the comments below. Wishing you all the best in 2025, more episodes on the way. Catch you next time, and happy recording.